Sri Devamrta Swami SB Ki Jai Om Vishnu Bham Sabarajagacharya Stote Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Gora Premanande. Masena, within a month. Two, then. Shida, ahead. Dvabhyam, in 2 months. Bahu, arms. Angri, feet. Adi, and so on. Anga, limbs. Vigraha, form. Nakha, nails. Loma, body hair. Asti, bones. Charmani, and skin. Linga, organ of generation. Chidra, apertures. Udbhava, appearance. Tribi, within 3 months. Translation. In the course of a month, a head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet, and other limbs take shape. By the end of 3 months, the nails, fingers, toes, body hair, bones, and skin appear, as do the organ of generation and the other apertures in the body, namely the eyes, nostrils, ears, mouth, and anus. Text 4. Within 4 months from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of the body, namely chyle, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen, come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt. And at the end of 6 months, the fetus, enclosed by the amnion, begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. Purport. When the body of the child is completely formed at the end of 6 months, the child, if he is male, begins to move on the right side, and if female, she tries to move on the left side. Text 5. Deriving its nutrition from the food and drink taken by the mother, the fetus grows and remains in that abominable residence of stools and urine, which is the breeding place of all kinds of worms. Purport. In the Markandeya Purana, it is said that in the intestine of the mother, the umbilical cord, which is known as Apyayani, joins the mother to the abdomen of the child. And through this passage, the child within the womb accepts the mother's assimilated foodstuff. In this way, the child is fed by the mother's intestine within the womb and grows from day to day. The statement of the Markandeya Purana about the child's situation within the womb is exactly corroborated by modern medical science. And thus the authority of the Puranas cannot be disproved, as is sometimes attempted by the Mayavadi philosophers. Since the child depends completely on the assimilated foodstuff of the mother, during pregnancy there are restrictions on the food taken by the mother. Too much salt, chili, onion, and similar food is forbidden for the pregnant mother because the child's body is too delicate and new for him to tolerate such pungent food. Restrictions and precautions to be taken by the pregnant mother, as enunciated in the Smriti scriptures of Vedic literature, are very useful. We can understand from the Vedic literature how much care is taken to beget a nice child in society. The Garbhadan ceremony before sexual intercourse was compulsory for persons in the higher grades of society, and it is very scientific. Other processes recommended in the Vedic literature during pregnancy are also very important. To take care of the child is the primary duty of the parents, because if such care is taken, society will be filled with good population to maintain the peace and prosperity of the society, country, and human race. Om Agana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Somehow, in this world, children are born. Although everyone takes birth, we've forgotten the circumstances of our existence in the womb. As I often point out, we like to have our birthdays celebrated, but we don't even remember our birth, what to speak of our existence in the womb. So our whole life is one of mystery and forgetfulness. We've forgotten our birth, and death means you'll forget the present body, which has changed so many times in your lifetime. So we're sandwiched by forgetfulness, yet we think we are so expert and intelligent and experienced. When we start to realize how much we are enshrouded, covered by ignorance, it's shocking. Where do we get this sense of competence from? Society gives that to you so that you'll become fuel for employment. You'll become an expert consumer. But when we actually look at the facts, what do we know? Some people realize that, and they just say, look, you were non-existing before birth, and after death, you won't be existing. So what's the big deal so much about your spot of life known as existence? You're surrounded by vast expanses of non-existence. Yet in this brief moment of existence, you try to find some purpose. You try to find some meaning. So you can do that, you are advised. You can do that. You can struggle to create your own purpose, find your own meaning, but just understand you're just a blip amidst non-existence. Isn't that inspiring? But what other option do you have if you lack knowledge? The previous chapter was dealing with death. How someone dies and what happens. Who wants to hear that? This present chapter is dealing with birth, particularly after the living entity becomes degraded from the human form and suffers hellish conditions and hellish births. The living entity comes up to the human form again and undergoes birth. So you're getting a vision an authorized vision of what it's like to be born. What's it like to be in the womb? You would have never thought of these things without Srimad Bhagavatam. All right, you can take some x-rays, some scans of the child in the womb. That's as far as it goes. You don't know what it's like, what the child is feeling, what the child's undergoing. Families are happy, generally, in a traditional way. If there's a child expected in the family, the mother gets excited and the father feels proud. I've created. My dynasty is expanding. I'm potent. And the mother feels, now I'll have someone to pour all my heart into. My husband doesn't talk to me enough, but the child will be my complete intense focus. So everyone's thinking various things. But meanwhile, what's going on in the womb? No one knows. We wouldn't know except for Srimad Bhagavatam. We wouldn't even care what to speak of know. What does it matter what the child undergoes in the womb? And what does it matter what happens to me after death? The universe will take care of me. I try to be a good person. That's as best you can do. So we are submerged in ignorance. That's why we say, Om Agana Timirandasya. Gyananjana Shalakaya. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My eyes were forced shut. It's one thing to have your eyes shut. It's another thing that you refuse to open them upon request or someone else's effort. So this is our situation. We don't consider this information to be so crucial. We want to forget it, in fact, because reading these chapters makes you lose enthusiasm for material enjoyment. And who wants to do that? Who wants to lose that? You want to feel upbeat about your life. You become a teenager, and your body seems to present so many new opportunities that you never realized before. The boy teenagers can make their bodies stronger. The girl teenagers start decorating their hair, making their hair this way, that way, and they start becoming conscious of how if they just move their body like this or that, the boys pay attention. And then you see possibilities for control, for manipulation. So we get lost in body affairs. Childhood means just play. Prahlad Maharaj explains this in the 7th canto. You waste so many years as a child playing. You become a teenager and you're totally bewildered. You don't have a clue. Your body is just driving you crazy with a massive infusion of hormones. And then you become a young adult and the pressures are on you. Education, job. Meanwhile, amidst your social struggles for economic viability, there have to be relationships, and that's a battlefield of its own. So you spend your whole life submerged in various bodily affairs that are so dominant at every stage of the body's existence. Adults still are coping with their bodies. Wait till old age when your joints start to creak. Pain here, pain there. It's happening to me now. Can't tolerate the cold. And then death, of course, is also a bodily absorption. Where would we ever have the chance? How would we ever have the chance to rise above all this without the transcendental information given in Srimad Bhagavatam? It informs us not simply of the realities of material existence, but Bhagavatam always has you focused on bhakti, loving devotional service to Krishna. Actually, for us, there's no birth or death. Isn't that what Krishna explains in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Najayate mriyate va kadacha. For the soul, there's no such thing as birth or death. But because we are covered by the illusory energy, we identify with the bodily phases, sadvikar, the 6 bodily changes, birth, growth, so on. It looks like the sun is blotted out by the clouds, but the sun is always shining. Similarly, the Shastra explains that it looks like the soul is polluted or the soul has become lost, but the soul is always there, but it's covered by the clouds of ignorance due to our misuse of our independence, our mistake. We are unborn, and Krishna is also unborn. Another name for Krishna is Aja, one who is unborn. But we are also Aja. But we make the mistake of identifying with the body and its birth, growth, producing offspring, maintenance, diminution, and death. We identify with all that. It's like you forget about the sun and just identify with the clouds passing in front of the sun. We've missed the point completely. So we are unborn just as Krishna is unborn. But Krishna never makes the mistake of identifying with the material energy. For Krishna, everything is spiritual. It's all his energy. But we make the mistake because we're seeing Krishna's energy as separate from him, and we want to be the enjoyer and exploiter of that energy. Because of that crucial mistake, we can't see what's going on. We have a decrepit, deformed, perverted mentality of wanting to enjoy the material energy. And if we're going to make spiritual advancement, we have to wrestle with that illusion. Why do I think I should be the enjoyer of the material energy? So how do you wrestle with that illusion and come out on top? You can't do it by material methods. We simply take shelter of hearing and chanting about Krishna. You may think this is miraculous. How is it possible that just by hearing and chanting about Krishna, your material desires diminish? This is hard to swallow, especially if you become caught up in material affairs, and you even can be an initiated devotee, but if you lose track of your hearing and chanting, you'll also lose track of the solution, how hearing and chanting is the solution for purifying the heart. Without an individual solution for purifying your heart, without a collective or societal solution for purifying the heart, you'll see no progress. So our ignorance just multiplies. First we think I am this body, and then we think material remedies and solutions will actually have a significant effect. You can catch yourself doing this all the time. If only this will happen, the world will be better. If only that technology appears, the world will be better. If only this one is elected or that one's elected, the world will be better. And meanwhile, the threefold miseries go on and on and on. We're very hopeful, aren't we? If I just make this adjustment in my life, if I have this relationship and not that relationship, if I expand my family, then I'll have more allies. If I change this material situation, change that material situation, have some more money, go traveling, buy this, then there'll be improvement. But if we understand how the material energy works, we'll know that the only solution to purify the heart of this tendency for hallucination is hearing and chanting about Krishna. Our main enemy is forgetfulness. Have you noticed how it's so easy to forget? This is why Bhagavatam says, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Every day, eternally, you're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's our lifeline. Otherwise, we will forget, without a doubt. As the forgetfulness in us sets in, we start considering the processes, the 9 processes of devotional service, to be like mechanical rituals. All right, you got to do this because you got to do that. Otherwise, other devotees look at you as if you're in Maya, even though you are in Maya. So yeah, we got to execute the processes of devotional service. First, things become mechanical and dry. And then you just leave these practices aside gradually. Maybe not all at once. Little by little, you decrease like the waning moon. And then before you know it, you're not doing any devotional practices, but you believe in Krishna. And you think, that will carry me through. And because we're not reading Bhagavad Gita, we don't understand how the 3 modes of material nature operate. They're always grinding you down. Whether you're speaking about an individual or society as a whole, if there is no process for purifying the heart, you will never see any real improvement. You'll just see the hope for improvement. We'll change the political system, we'll change the economic system. And you do see a glimmer of hope, a glimmer even of some improvement, but then it quickly fades as some other problem overpowers you from another direction. I've been noticing myself that this is a very difficult syndrome to curtail, the hope that material methods will bring about significant change. Now, you may bring up examples. Well, what about, let's say, in a certain part of the world, there used to be a very restrictive government, and now there's a less restrictive government. But if you remember the hopes of the people when there was a change, and then some years later, there's still problems. So if you have to have a sharp eye that's trained by Srimad Bhagavatam to see that the basic problems remain, and even the hopes that you had for a specific amelioration, a specific improvement, those also crumble. I like one example that Srila Prabhupada gave about how we take pride in material solutions. Let's say your house is burning down. You spent so much time and money acquiring your house, whether it's a tiny house or a regular house. Shh. Whether it's a tiny house or a regular house, you've spent so much time and money. And then it catches fire. And it's practically burned to the ground. The fire brigade comes. And yes, it's great to have a fire brigade. So the fire brigade's pouring water on the house that's almost burnt down. What's the point? The house is finished. But you can take pride. The brigade can take pride. We're pouring water on it. But the house is it's on its way to burning down completely. We're pouring water. We came and we're pouring water. It's an example Srila Prabhupada gave. It shows you the pride that's ongoing. We're doing something. We're solving problems. But look at the house. It's finished. We're pouring water. You have to think about it a bit to catch it. How quick we are to take pride in material solutions. And if we see just a glimmer of improvement, momentary improvement is all you get in the material energy. You see a glimmer of momentary improvement. And we get so giddy, right? We're making progress. We're making advancement. Forgetfulness is such a prominent characteristic of our life. So Srimad Bhagavatam is giving us authentic knowledge of what we have forgotten. I've had a previous lifetime. I've died in so many different types of bodies. Here I am again, after going through so many hellish bodies and hellish births. I'm in the human form of life. But that human form of life begins in the womb. What's it like in the womb? The mother carrying the child is filled with warm emotions about the coming new acquisition to the family, a new object for her to pour her heart into. But what's the child in the womb going through? Who thinks of that? The ladies generally want children. They want to go through that maternal experience. The men like the process of making children. So things happen. But no one is thinking, what is the child actually going through? It's a horrible situation. As the Bhagavatam explains in one purport, fortunately, the child's consciousness is not fully developed until the 7th month or so, because otherwise the child would never be able to survive such a torturous situation. In other words, that's the mercy of Maya. You don't have fully developed consciousness, therefore you can tolerate being in such an abominable, excruciatingly painful situation. Now you may say, well, what about Krishna? We celebrate Janmashtami. Didn't Krishna take birth? This is one of the great mysteries. That's why Krishna himself says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tapata. If you can understand the transcendental mystery of my birth and my karma, my activities in this world, then upon giving up the present body, you will not take another material body. You'll come to me, Mameti. What is this about the mystery of Krishna's birth? You might say, well, didn't Krishna appear from the womb of Devaki? Yes, but Krishna is not the product of a combination of semen and eggs. Because a devotee wants to love Krishna as his or her child, Krishna agrees to reciprocate in that way, but he's not a product of sexual reproduction. First of all, Krishna is everywhere. So why can't he appear from the womb? You may read in Srimad Bhagavatam how Krishna transferred himself from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, and then from there to the womb of Devaki. So you might say, well, wait a minute, let's make up our mind here. Did he come from the mind, or did he come from the womb, or what's going on? But Krishna is everywhere. He can make himself known from any place. Andantarasta paravanam, chayantarastam, govindam, adipurusham tamhamajami. You can't restrict Krishna. You can't appear from the womb. Hey, you were supposed to be in the mind. What are you doing coming out of the womb of Devaki? He's everywhere. That mistake is the same as people saying, if there is God, he wouldn't come here. Well, why not? You can't restrict Krishna. He comes when he wants to come. Now, it's very interesting how Krishna bewilders those with materialistic consciousness. They want to consider that Krishna is an ordinary person who took an ordinary birth. So Krishna says, all right, I'll give you a little drama that you can become absorbed in. You can say that I appeared from the womb of Devaki. You can ignore all the Shastric information and all the descriptions of my appearance in this world and just say I came from the womb like an ordinary child. So it gives an excuse for those who want to disregard Krishna and his unlimitedly transcendental nature. What was his father, Vasudeva, thinking upon the birth of Krishna, the so-called birth? Number one, Vasudeva's thinking, how is it that Krishna is not afraid to appear in the prison cell of Kamsa? That's inconceivable. Here I am locked up in prison, and my wife has just given birth to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the prison cell. Number two, look at this child. What child is born fully decorated with hair and jewels, four-handed, with the conch, club, lotus, and disc? Who takes birth like that? And number three, Krishna is my worshipable Lord, yet he has appeared as my son. And he's appeared as my son from the womb of Devaki. So this is Vasudeva's realization, his expression of transcendental wonderment. He was a mixture of affection in Vatsalya Prem, love, rasa for Krishna in parental love, and also mixed in there is awe and reverence. That's why he was offering prayers to his child. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya, they would never do that. As you know, they're pure Vatsalya Prem, pure love of Krishna in parental rasa, with no tinge of awe and reverence. Whereas Vasudeva, as you know, is a Mathura devotee. Not completely Dwarka and not completely Vrindavan. Mature devotees in between. Mixture of awe and reverence and affection. Our solution to our birth problem is to understand Krishna's birth. Understand Krishna's activities. He seems to have karma. Karma means activities, but his activities are not about action and reaction. So Krishna puts these two things before you. Understand my janma, my so-called birth. Understand my karma, and you won't take another material body. You'll come to me. So this means we need to put some time in, some energy into becoming knowledgeable and attracted. Knowledgeable about Krishna and attracted to Krishna. We should never become so busy that that's pushed aside. Otherwise, we're wasting our human form of life. Last night, we were speaking at the loft about persons who say they're not afraid of death. Maybe you've said that at some point in your life. Death, I'm not afraid of it. What happens, happens. Let the good times roll. Let's just live in the moment and do what you got to do right now. So people will say like that. We were explaining last night at the loft how I was listening to one bright Los Angeles lawyer, corporate lawyer, who came to see Srila Prabhupada. And he just told Prabhupada bluntly, I'm not afraid of death. What's all this talk about birth, death, old age, and disease? I'm not afraid. So Srila Prabhupada had to work hard to convince him, to show him that you indeed are afraid of death. He told him, if death comes right now, are you ready to go? You just going to go? You're just going to die? No, you'll be petrified. You'll be terrified. But the guy couldn't get it. No, it comes. So I explained last night, I thought of an example based on the COVID pandemic crisis, an example of how people are afraid of death. You see that in terms of their resentment of restriction. They don't want to follow restrictions. They don't want to follow prohibitions. They don't want to, you have to wear a mask. You can't go here. You can't go there. You try to get outside of Auckland and the roads are blocked. You just have to stay inside Auckland. You don't like that. That means you don't like death. You're afraid of death. Because death is the ultimate restriction. It means that's it for your body. I was seeing here in New Zealand how still, it's amazing, every couple of weeks, someone who is in managed quarantine tries to escape. And they're told before they're put in quarantine, if you try to escape, it is a crime. You'll be fined. You can go to prison. And they're still doing it because they can't handle the restriction. One guy on the 4th floor of a hotel made a rope by tying bed sheets together and lowered himself down from the 4th floor. But I'm not afraid of death. Can't handle 2 weeks alone. This means we don't like to be impeded. We don't like restrictions. We don't like to be curtailed. We were speaking last night about how just a few days ago in the USA, a plot was uncovered, and the plotters were rounded up by the police. The plotters were protesting against the restrictions in their state of Michigan. Very populous state. They were so outraged. We are being curtailed. Our liberties are being taken away. What did they do? They made a plot to kidnap the governor. Yet, we're not afraid of death. In other words, we can't tolerate the slightest curtailment, restriction. We get so bent out of shape. But death, oh, no problem. It comes. Just enjoying the moment. This is completely nonsensical. So you can explain to people, if you have a little difficulty handling the restrictions due to the pandemic, how do you think you're going to handle death? Death means that's it for this body. Nothing more is possible. No matter how you've soaped your body so nicely and combed your hair so nicely, it's over. And you think you're just going to, oh, it's all fine, it's all right, I don't mind. Oh, it's the utmost agony to be ripped out of your body because you're attached to it. It's the only thing you know that's you. And your relationships are based on your body. So not only are you facing the end of your body, but also the end of bodily relationships. So it is physical agony and mental agony for those who are attached to their false material identity. So this information that Bhagavatam gives is so important. It's shaking us, waking us. It's a wake-up call in the best way. This is what's going on. What are you going to do about it? In this way, we can realize how dependent we are on Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, we're living in a society that tells us, be free, be independent. Make sure you don't have a codependent relationship with anyone. That's looked down on, dependency. You're too dependent on this person or those persons. What about your own autonomy? Your own identity. You do your thing. Don't submerge your life into someone else. Don't use someone as a crutch. This is what we're constantly hearing. You are you, and they are they. Use each other for as long as the using is good and move on. Dependency? Yet you look and see how these children are so dependent on their mother. Are you going to criticize the child? What are you doing on your mother's lap? Be a man. Stand up on your own 2 feet. No, ladies like the dependency of the children. But we're like that childlike dependency. We're that way with Krishna. We're so dependent. But our mistake in material existence is to conceive of ourselves as independent. I can stand on my own 2 feet. Physically and emotionally, intellectually, I know what I'm doing. Well, do you know what you were like before birth? Nope. Do you know what you'll be like after death? Nope. But I know what I'm doing. I'm competent. I'm very expert in organizing my life. Now you may notice, while people are talking about being so expert in dealing with the now, they're making a mess even of the now. Environmentally, health-wise, in so many ways, they can't even live in the now properly. This is the result of massive ignorance. We are always fearful about such clouds, such fog of ignorance swallowing us up. That is the healthy use of fear. Everything can be used in Krishna's service. So a bhakti yogi uses fear positively. We are afraid of illusion, which can strike at any moment. We're feeling just like a little child. If the mother goes away for an hour, the little child feels fear. What am I going to do? We're suffering from separation from Krishna. Our fear is that we'll fall victim to the illusory energy. When we lose that fear, we've got big problems. We are indebted to Srimad Bhagavatam for giving us this crucial information. Where else have you heard this kind of thing? We're indebted to Srimad Bhagavatam for cultivating our attachment for Krishna. Everyone likes to be attached. So what is the supreme object of attachment? It's our life's mission to understand attachment for Krishna. We want to give that to ourselves, and we want to give that to others. Whether you have biological children or spiritual children, we want to give attachment to Krishna to all of them. All right, any questions? Yes?
Since we're sandwiched between forgetfulness, and everybody around us is sandwiched between forgetfulness too, what's our hope for developing a culture of relationship, lifelong relationships with an authority, someone who's not forgetful, someone who is wise?
Relationships of wisdom are based on hearing and serving. By hearing and serving the devotee, we wake up. Jeev jago, Gora Chandra Boy, Kotan Nidra, Jaya Maya. We're in a wake-up process by our association with those who are waking up. Otherwise, without that precious association of those who are trying to awaken, we become drowsy very easily. If you're around sleepy people all the time, it's easy for you to fall asleep. So what does Srimad Bhagavatam say in the very beginning? Vasudeva kataruchi samahat sevaya vipra. By rendering service to the devotee, you develop a taste for the messages of Vasudeva, of Krishna. Therefore, we're always eager for service opportunities. Then you're alive. Just like after the deity greeting kirtan, when I go downstairs, I see Nitai Chand every Sunday. What is he doing? Cleaning the restrooms. Someone may think, what are you doing that for? Aren't you an initiated brahmana? But he's dedicated to service in such a humble way. So then when he goes out on the Queen Street to distribute books, he has Shakti, he has potency. So as we spoke last night, we want to develop devotees who can give shelter. It's not one person's job. Lord Chaitanya envisioned thousands upon thousands of persons who are able to give shelter. And you'll see the need more and more as the world becomes more and more bewildered and desperate. We, of course, think we're very safe here in New Zealand, right? What happens when you feel those jolts, those tremors? Wasn't there one yesterday? You just take it as normal. I felt it. The building just felt like a truck hit it. It was just that quick, and then it stopped. No one else felt it? Yeah, you just take it as normal. Another day, another tremor. People write me, other devotees write me, oh, you're so fortunate to be in New Zealand, you don't have any COVID there. I say, yeah, but we got earthquakes. It's going to be something or the other. I remember I was taking a shower in Wellington, and while I'm in the shower, soaking with water, just wearing a gumshoe, all of a sudden the building starts to sway. I'm thinking, what is this? Should I run out in the street soaking wet with just a gumshoe? It wasn't a jolt. The building was swaying back and forth, back and forth. Anyway, that was that. A few storefront windows were broken, that's all. Life goes on. It's just normal. The Prime Minister was giving a talk to the media, the TV media, and while she's speaking, the lights above her start swaying. Oh, it's an earthquake. And anyway, she just went on giving her talk. We're conditioned. We think we're safe. In that way, we are asleep. But Srimad Bhagavatam is a wake-up call, and we need that daily wake-up call. Anything else? Yes.
In the Bhagavatam it says that, Prabhupada says that the most important qualification is to hear submissively. So I was wondering if you could elaborate a bit more on what does it actually mean to hear submissively?
She's asking, what does it mean to hear submissively? Because she's read that this is the most important characteristic for a bhakti yogi. To hear submissively means you realize, I need to take all this in for my own purification. What happens when you're sick and you go to a doctor? You just walk in the door into his office arrogantly. Okay, what are you going to say? I don't believe anything you're going to tell me, but anyway, I'm here. No, if you're feeling some pain, you submit. Right? Your helpless condition makes you very humble and receptive. Just like I had something happened to my ankle 10 days ago or so. And I went to Christchurch and got off the plane. I was limping and my ankle was in pain, and chiropractors and physios tell me I have an abnormally high tolerance of pain. But anyway, I was feeling it. So I was hobbling around, and then one devotee, Sangeeta Priya, originally from Auckland. She's a chiropractor and a kinesiologist combined. So she saw me limping around. She told me, okay, Gurudev, sit down, hold out your ankle, put your ankle here, I'm going to fix it. No, you're not going to touch my ankle. But, did I want to be able to walk around because I had an outreach program that evening, or did I just want to, be immobilized and miss the whole program and sit in the chair? Just hold your ankle out. Let me see what's going on with it. You can't touch your Guru Maharaj's ankle. What will the brahmacharis think? Well, then I thought, look, the program starts in 2 hours. You've got to get yourself together. And of course, when you're in a hospital, you can't refuse a lady nurse. Oh, please. I'm of the saffron set. No lady nurses come near me in the hospital. You're helpless. So you have to submit. You have to be submissive. So I tried to be a good patient. That's what it means to hear submissively. Realize your helpless disease condition and submit to hearing from an authorized source. So she did her best to try to patch me up. And then, now that I'm back in Auckland, I went to my usual chiropractor on the North Shore, who does other things besides being a chiropractor, and he basically, in 20 minutes, he patched me up. Submissive hearing means you want to be cured. You realize the hearing process will dispel your illusions and increase your attachment for Krishna. Anything else? Yes.
How do you explain to guests at outreach programs that in order to solve the material problems, they need a spiritual solution? They believe that material solutions will solve their problems, and they really only care to solve their immediate material problems, not.
So he's asking, how do you explain to guests at outreach events who think that they need material solutions and they're absorbed in formulating material solutions? What I do, because they're attached, I say, do both. Do your material attempts as well as the spiritual solution. And gradually then, you'll see which is truly effective. So I ask them to do both. Unless they're really sharp and spiritually unusual, then I just say, just forget all that material nonsense and just chant Hare Krishna. But how often do you meet persons who are ready to hear that? So you have to be an expert doctor. All right, you have this attachment. You want to improve your life materially. Okay, go ahead, but add Krishna to your efforts. And the idea is that if they truly add Krishna, gradually they'll see what is really solving their problems in life. But as you say, many persons are not ready to immediately be shut down. Sarvadharmam prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Shut down your plan-making factory immediately and take Krishna's plan. That is the truth. So it's all about timing. You are going to give the medicine, but according to a schedule. So at first, just to get them going, all right, do your material solution, but add Krishna to all your attempts. So you have to judge the capacity of the patient. I don't remember what I first told you when I met you. Do you remember?
You told me to get to the Bhakti laboratory and say that you understood I was a chemical engineer, and you also at one point gave the analogy of the deer, or gave the analogy of the deer who runs out into the desert chasing water, looking for water.
So he was finishing his studies at Auckland Uni in chemical engineering. So I told him, all right, enter the Bhakti laboratory. But it wasn't that you surrendered 100% on the spot. So, based on your chemical engineering background, we used that to encourage you to enter the genuine, the best laboratory, the Bhakti laboratory. And because you were a young man, younger than now, I told you, why should you be like a deer racing out in the desert, mistakenly looking for water there? That was code for give up your girlfriend. Well, I wasn't going to tell you that on day one. So you have to judge the person's capacity. Be an expert physician. And the most expert doctor is Lord Chaitanya. He's known as Chaitanya Vaidya. He's the best physician. All right. Ladies, have any questions or we'll end? Very good questions today. Radha Priya, do you have any questions? All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.